I'm Uncle Dan808 and today I'm doing a video review on my favorite Glock accessory. Now this is only the second YouTube video I've ever made. But wait, before I stop the video, think about it. There are already a plethora of videos out there about Glocks and their accessories who are done by people who are way better at making YouTube videos than I am. So why make this video? Well, because this accessory that I've been using for about 6 years with various IDPA, USPSA clubs, and with just Army buddies at the range. Some of these people are very experienced and have been shooting for a very long time, but none of those people I've encountered use this accessory. In fact, none of them have ever seen it or ever even heard of it. So I'm doing this video to get the word out there about this accessory that I think is awesome. To properly introduce this accessory, we first have to talk about the 1911. Now this is my favorite gun to shoot, and there are 101 reasons to love a 1911. One of those are the thumb safeties. Now anyone who shoots a 1911 with the extended thumb safeties knows that they are more than just safeties. They are in fact an essential part of the grip. So typically when you grip a pistol, the web of your hand forms the pivot point or the fulcrum point on the gun. So when the gun recoils backwards, it's pivoting around the web of your fingers. And it's these three fingers on your primary hand, plus some help with the fingers of your support hand, that give counter torque or anti-torque to keep that muzzle from coming up or reduce how much that muzzle comes up. So notice, if I don't have any fingers applied and I pull back on the slide, it tips up. But with the three fingers here, and I pull back, they are able to prevent the slide from coming up or from coming up that much. By placing your thumb on top of the 1911 thumb safety, it gives an additional point of leverage. So your thumb can also provide counter torque to that. And you'll notice even without these three fingers attached, just my thumb safety, or my thumb on the safety, when I apply a rearward force, or actually I'll do it from back here, my thumb is able to provide counter torque and keep that muzzle from coming up. Without it there, it would just go straight up. The second advantage to having your thumb on top of the safety is it decreases the distance between this pivot point and the slide. So anytime you decrease the distance between a fulcrum point and the force that's applied to it, it decreases the torque. So therefore it decreases the amount of counter torque that your fingers, these three fingers plus your thumb, needs to apply to prevent the pistol muzzle from coming up, or at least reduce how far up it comes. You can imagine if you were gripping the pistol way down here and you fired it, it would take a tremendous amount of strength in your hands and your wrist to overcome that muzzle rise and arrest the muzzle back down. Also consider that with your thumb on top of the safety, as you concentrate on driving the gun towards the target, your thumb is naturally going to press down and get that muzzle back down on target faster for a quicker follow-up shot. And yet another very important advantage is with my hand so high up, my support hand can move from down here to up here, where I rotate my support hand forward and form sort of this S-shaped union between the hands. And you can see my thumb, my support thumb, is very, very far forward and gives me great lateral stability and lateral control over it. It allows my palm to get a good contact on the grip panel. But most importantly, with these two, in this position, these two thumbs are generally bore-sided to the barrel. So if I'm engaging a target that's pretty close range, let's say out to 3 meters or so, I don't even have to use my sights to shoot the target. I don't even have to aim. If it's close enough, like a couple meters, I don't even have to be looking at the target. I can be looking this way and see something off my peripheral vision and then just point my thumbs at it and engage. And, hit kind of generally center of mass of the target when I do that. So there's a huge advantages that are all provided by having this thumb safety, which provides me a platform to rest my thumb. Well, that's great for a 1911, but I only use my 1911 for competition. For self-defense, I use my trusty Glock. And now there are 101 reasons to love a Glock. I won't go into all the reasons why I chose Glock as my self-defense weapon. But one of the shortcomings that I see in the Glock for me is that it does not have any sort of thumb rest or thumb safety or platform for your thumb to rest on. Now I'm actually a fan of the Glock not having any sort of external safety on it, but I really would like a thumb rest. So I looked at some other options for defensive guns like the Smith & Wesson M&P series or the Springfield XD, which have certain models that have a frame-mounted safety on them. But if you look at those, they're not truly 1911 style safeties because they're not that long and they're not that wide. So they're just not big enough to provide a platform for your thumb to rest on. So I did a little research on the internet, and lo and behold, I found something that perfectly fit my needs. This is the recoil controlling thumb rest from Smart Lock Technologies. It's a Canadian-based company, and this is basically just a piece of molded polymer that is designed to wrap around the back of your Glock and then provides a thumb rest for your thumb to rest on either side. Now, I've modified mine. This came with a rest on both the left side and the right side, but I cut the right side off because I intended to use this with concealed carry, and I didn't want that right hand thumb rest to print on my shirt. So the kit comes with the thumb rest itself and then a replacement trigger housing pin that's a little bit longer than the OEM one, and it's extremely easy to install. You don't even have to remove the slide. Just make sure that the gun is clear, of course. Take your replacement trigger housing pin and drift out the OEM part. Slide your thumb rest onto the back and line it up with the holes in the frame of the gun. And then while holding it there, put your replacement pin inside. And that's it. And the pin is, and the rest is installed. Now, I also had this Hogue overmolded grip on it that I really like. I just had to roll it down to get the rest on there, and then I could easily roll it back up to get it back on. So this is what it looks like when it's installed. You can see it wraps around from the left side all around to the back, all the way to the right side. And there is the actual rest. It's a pretty good size rest. It's a little bit higher than a 1911 safety rest, but not too much higher. So there's plenty of real estate for your thumb to rest on it. Now, it did have one on both the left side and the right side, and again, I cut mine off so it didn't print during concealed carry. You'll also notice that on this section right here, it kind of curves up and then comes back down. That right there provides a barrier between your thumb and the slide. So if you're gripping it really tightly, your thumb won't contact the slide, so you don't have to worry about your skin getting caught in the serrations or about the friction between your skin and the slide possibly slowing down the slide and interfering with the cycling. Another modification is you'll notice on this side that this is cut straight across, where originally it had that curved piece that went up and over to provide that barrier. But what I found is that when I was charging the slide with my left hand, my fingers would come over, and that barrier would impede the contact between my fingers and the slide, so I won't be able to get a really good purchase on the serrations. So by cutting those off, whenever I come over with my left hand to charge it, my fingers get a really good purchase on those serrations. A third modification that I made is a little more subtle. You'll notice on the rest here, it curves up and then it seems to cut straight up and then curve it back. Well, it didn't used to do that. It used to actually continue to curve all the way around. And then on the rest, the platform itself, so I can get a good angle here, it actually also curved all the way around instead of being cut straight across. What was happening is when my thumb was up here, it placed it right above the slide release, which is a good location, but it was just a little too long. So when I did a magazine change, I could release the magazine without having to break my grip because I have this extended magazine release. But when I went to release the slide, I couldn't get my thumb, the joint of my thumb, over the edge of that platform without having to break my grip and come forward. I didn't want to have to do that. So I just cut away the front portion of it. It was just a little bit. And then by doing that, I could reach forward and activate that slide release without having to break my grip. So it made magazine changes much more fluid and faster. And if you're wondering, well, why do I have to make so many modifications to this rest? Why doesn't it come good to go out of the box? Well, I found one other individual on an online forum that had one, and he seems to believe that the company intentionally made these maybe just a little bit too big on purpose so that individuals could cut them down to size and tailor them for their specific needs and their specific hand and finger sizes. So overall, I am very, very happy with the rest. It gives me that 1911 feel. It gives me a platform to rest my thumb. It decreases the distance between my hand and the slide. It allows my support hand to get really, really high, giving me that nice S-shaped union between my hands. Of course, it gives me leverage to reduce how much the muzzle comes up, and as I'm driving forward towards the target, it drives that muzzle back down to get it back on target very quickly. And of course, my thumbs are generally bore-sided to the gun, so if I'm shooting at targets up to, say, 3 meters or less, I don't even have to use my sights. I can just point my thumbs at it. Or if I'm shooting at targets that I'm not looking directly at, I can actually aim just by turning and pointing my thumbs at it. It does come in a couple different models. This is the duty carry version with standard size thumb rest, and the back of it doesn't extend any further past the frame of the original gun. There is a competition version which has slightly larger rests and a beaver tail that comes back. They're sold by a Canadian company called Smartlock Technologies. They also sell in the US through Brownells. This costs about $19 and the competition version is about $21. It's interesting to note though that there's a slight modification to the ones that are being sold now, which is this raised section right here no longer comes up as high. It's actually cut more straight across. So it seems like the designers were thinking along the same lines that I was, that they could possibly impede the ability to get a good grip on the serrations when you're cocking the slide. So that is the recoil controlling thumb rest from Smartlock Technologies for the Glock. The rest is also available for the Smith & Wesson M&P series, the Springfield XD, and the Walther P99. So that's it. I hope you found the video informative. If you did, please leave a comment. Thank you, and aloha.